So I'm glad to introduce you English tutor Robert Pllen. I met this wonderful tutor at one of the courses we took at Red Deer. So I'm glad we have tutors like Robert who can help you guys improve not just your grammar skills, also help you out to fix issues with pronunciation. So basically, because of you were asking me to do the interview with native speaker and to hear how what the difference is from Ukrainian teachers or Russian teachers in English and the actually native speaker, we would like to make this video, and I'm glad that Robert agreed to give us this great opportunity. So please, Robert, introduce yourself.
Thank you. I'm happy to do this. I've been teaching English for about 10 years. English as a second language. A lot of people I teach are from Ukraine. Many people are from other countries too, but I have a degree in psychology from the University of Calgary, but I didn't enjoy working with people who were so sad so instead now I work with people who are very happy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's a very happy thing to do.
How does it affect your life?
I love this job so much. Of course, I get to meet a lot of people. In a way, it's like learning about the world without having to travel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very good.
Nice. And what I found in your lessons, that you try to keep the energy on the top, right?
Yeah.
And that's I found that some lessons they're just getting bored, and you just sitting and try to fight with sleeping, not actually learning. But on your lessons, it's kind of like gaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it some special way of training how you teach your students?
Yes, it's really, and even more than when I taught you, I am focusing on practice.
Mm-hmm.
So we isolate a sound, we learn to make it, like the it sound that people just don't have when they come to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
It's it. Mm-hmm. And we practice it, and then we just practice and practice with the most common words that use that sound.
Mm-hmm.
Then we compare it to a sound that people maybe mix it up with. So the word it, what is it?
Mm-hmm.
Compared to eat, right? And I teach the difference so that people aren't saying, that's eat. No, that's it. Mm-hmm. There's some sounds like that are very important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually I found it in my journey, right? And when I came to Canada, sometimes you just speak in the way you've been taught in Ukraine, right? But some people they just get confused and they don't understand what you mean because of your pronunciation, right? Mm-hmm. So basically, people speak the way they know that word is translating from their language to English, right? Mm-hmm. But because of lack of pronunciation, they have the risk not being understood. Right?
Very much so. There are about 1 billion words estimated in English. Mm-hmm. So if you pronounce one a little bit wrong, there's a good chance you're pronouncing a whole different word, and that will confuse people. That's an important thing about English. The other thing that people from Ukraine find very, very different is our rhythm and our stress. That we use a schwa, very small syllable. And I explained that it's extremely important in English. I had a friend from Ukraine who ordered a hamburger.
Hamburger
from Wendy's, and they could not understand her from a restaurant.
Yeah.
Hamburger. I said, no, say hamburger.
Yeah.
And when she said hamburger, then they have no problem.
Yeah. When I hear this word hamburger, it's something like some burger with a ham.
It could be.
or with a hammer.
But even more striking, I use examples, a catastrophe, right? If you know what a catastrophe is, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
An earthquake is a catastrophe. If we pronounce it, if we have the wrong stress,
Mm-hmm.
we could say cat ass trophy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is a completely different
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
And so the stress becomes extremely important in English.
Mm-hmm.
We have words like present,
Mm-hmm.
but if we stress the second syllable, it's present.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different word.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And also, what I found that, like when I didn't teach English in Ukraine, we never concentrate or focus our attention on stress, where you put the stress at the word. And this is very important thing, because even if you take your language and you put the stress in the wrong place, you will find the way how native speakers can hear you. So sometimes it's just really hard to recognize what the person telling you about. And also, what I found, that when you tell a person something, and you say the word, and he can't understand you, and after that, when he recognizes this word and he say it, and it sounds to us as the same word basically,
Right.
but
right.
the stress is on the wrong place, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. Can you tell us, please, how did you decide to be a tutor? Like you say that you had a psychologist education, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't enjoy this job as it's pretty stressful, right?
Mm-hmm. Lots of sad people.
Yeah. And like
suffering.
my father is psychologist, so I know that if you are a good psychologist, you have connect really good to a person and basically go through all the problem he has,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And to find a solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not for everybody, but at the same time, it's pretty interesting. How did you decide that you have to go not to construction, for example, not to some engineering, that you decided to be a tutor?
I wanted to be a teacher right
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I found out about the ESL course
Mm-hmm.
to become a teacher of ESL here in Red Deer, and I thought it would be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that whole training to be a certified ESL teacher,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that also I could travel the world and work if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
If I want, I could go work in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So for somebody who's single like me, this is a good thing, getting to see the world if you want to travel.
Enjoy your life.
And work at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So ESL, is it abbreviation of something?
It's abbreviation for English as a second language.
As a second language.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically you specified on the foreign students, right?
That's right.
Yeah, nice. So basically what I saw in our lessons, right, that there was a different group of nationalities present at the lessons, and every nationality is struggling with pronunciation, with language in a different way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think about it?
Well, it's interesting because at the end of my last class, we just had a question period just to talk, and people could just ask some questions at the end. And one person asked me, what is the most important thing to learn in English? What is the most important thing people should focus on? And I made it clear. This individual was from Spain. And I said, well, it's going to be different for you than it will be for someone from Ukraine. So I asked everyone, what do you think? What do you think? The folks from Ukraine, the learners from Ukraine said it's the stress. The word stress is different. The sentence stress is so important. And if we don't get that stress, then they find that they're misunderstood. For another person from another country, the Spanish speaker, they're not going to find that as such a big issue. But they are missing a lot of the vowel sounds that we have in English. So that becomes more important for them. So everybody gets what they need, basically, is what the class is all about. That requires tremendous practice, just practice and practice and practice.
Nice. So, and what the challenges of Ukrainians accept of stress? Maybe some sounds you found that Ukrainians fighting with or have challenges with, like this. I know that that's pretty weird for Ukrainians, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about that?
Well, outside of English, the TH sound is often not pronounced right or correctly. So people will say things like da instead of la. And it's really simple. Once I show a person how to make the TH sound, they can make the TH sound. And I have them make the TH sound, and when they do it right, I show them where to put the tongue. You can't miss it. You can't fail. Once they do it, then I say, that's it. And then it's a matter for repetition. And it's nice if you can say bath instead of bad or bat. You know, we want to know, are you saying bath or are you saying bat? Are you saying bad? Right?
Yeah, and I actually know that we have like English courses that when you've been taught that way, that you can say to except of the or the. So like
what I do, I think I should point out, is that for my very first class, I give a listening assessment. It's a little test. I record everybody reading a script of a few words, challenging vowel sounds, words that are often difficult for newcomers. But this gives me a chance to see every sound that I'm looking for, to see if these sounds are being pronounced correctly. And I also have a few sentences, so I can see if the stress is being used correctly. This is very important because every individual will then get a very special plan, and we work on that plan. So everyone's guaranteed to improve, and everybody seems to become more confident quite quickly.
Yeah, I was going through that assessment, and it was pretty interesting, first of all, and valuable because it's also like when you start speaking English, you can find after yourself what you're doing wrong, but when you do an assessment, it can show you whole picture, right? And that is really good. So is it your personal idea to have that assessment and like your individual method?
Indeed, actually, I picked up the idea from a very famous leader in pronunciation of English as a teacher. Her name is Judy Gilbert. She's an American, and she uses a very, very, I think, important technique of thinking of the language almost like music. It kind of has to be sung a different way. And that's very valuable. She also had the assessment, but I did not like her assessment, so I made a much better assessment. It's one of the things I can do because in psychology, I was taught how to create assessments, tests that are valid, which is very helpful for me right now. So I can create these things, I can test their validity, and I can see that they are correct.
Nice. And also, I think that you took from psychology is that I found that on your lessons you've been kind of connected to your students. That was kind of environment when you don't feel like you just disconnected from your teacher. You just like in the whole system, right? You work as a solid thing. So for me, interesting, like people, do you know the reason why people come into your courses?
I think they are some of them are put under pressure at work because a lot of people think, well, I'm speaking correctly. I don't understand what is wrong with people. And some people are told by their employers, you need to be more clear. You need some tutoring. You need something because our customers cannot understand. Some feel they have to. And some just want to improve. They're tired of people saying, what? What you say? And giving that awful face, like, they do that. And so I find that people come to the class, and I don't think people regret it at all, especially when they're only $30 or $35.
Yeah, but
Really good.
by the way, can you tell us how much does it cost to take your courses?
Right now, I have a course coming up. In November. It'll be here in Red Deer at Daw Library, and it should. I don't know exactly what the cost will be. The woman running the program is from Ukraine. Is Ukrainian, so she's a great person to talk to.
What's her name?
Allah.
Allah.
And so she's a great person to talk to. I don't have the phone number right here, but yeah. So people will be coming to that class in November. I also will be teaching one in Lacombe, I believe.
So it's gonna be in the Daw Center, yeah?
Daw Center for Red Deer, and the price is typically only about $40, $50.
$40, $50 for?
I think it's, let's see,
per lesson.
No, the whole thing, man. Because the government is sponsoring. So that's where I get my pay from.
Well, it's interesting. Like government. How did you find that government? How much government involved and interesting in to give this opportunity to learn English for foreign people?
It's fantastic. I wish we had more. We have plenty of resources for people in their first 4 years of learning, 4 levels. We have quite a bit of opportunities for people in schools and training, but the levels higher, we don't have a lot of. There's something missing right now, which is level 5, 6, 7, 8. These are the levels people need for college, university. So this is where I try to fit in. I try to give them that stuff that they need, that they cannot get from Link. Link is level 1, level 2, level 3. And you may know Central Alberta Refugee Effort is here in Red Deer. They teach level 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's free for a lot of people.
Free, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So our government actually gave a big reward to our program this year, our English program.
Nice. Did you find some interesting from the government of communication with tutors? Are they looking for feedback or some proposals or ideas how to improve the system?
They usually will hear from the coordinators. So they met with the coordinators this year. They talked about can we get our funding, and they will award funding based on what they think is the needs in the community. Because of course everybody should have the opportunity to communicate clearly, which then gives everybody the opportunities that they need to achieve everything that they want to achieve. This is very important. People need to understand what you are saying. And it's like the news, and I'll tell everybody, watch the news in English and try to be similar in your pronunciation. This is the greatest tool you can do on your own.
So basically, this advice, this advice can bring level of your English right now, right? And for free.
It sure can.
Yeah. So
CBC?
please take this recommendation and start practicing your English more right now.
Talk like a reporter on the news.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah.
It's like, good evening. And then they do this. Pretend you're a reporter. People will understand you.
Yeah. So there is some body language too, right?
Oh, body language is always helpful. Keep in mind, people are very bad at listening. They're doing other things. This is why there's a problem. People are bad listeners. A counselor in psychology is a very good listener. A good listener will be looking you in the eyes, and they'll be smiling, nodding. I understand. Most people aren't. They're busy at work. They're on the phone. You're talking to them, and they're going to go, what?
Yeah.
So we need to use our hands or body, whatever possible, to make things clear.
Any communication key, right?
It is really valuable.
So it's interesting. And can you tell, maybe you know some stories how life are changed after taking your courses from your students?
It's very important for me to do follow-up. And I've been doing follow-up, and I'm seeing great success. I'm so happy to see individuals move from where they began working, and some began at Ole Mill. And now I'm seeing some of these individuals working professionally. Some are in Calgary, whether it's nursing, nurses, pharmaceutical. Some of these individuals have decided to go on to college or tech school or trade school, and yeah, they're having success, and this is really important. I need to know that it works.
Yeah. So did you find that these people, they have to, like, they put some hard work on it to get that result? Or is it everything coming like this without any challenges and stuff like that?
I think some people are very lucky to be very skilled at languages, and they can learn many languages. I know one man who learned almost every unbelievable amount of languages. He's a German man, and he tried to learn them all. So, you know, some people have the skill, but you can't just go to a class for 2 hours once a week and it'll be fixed. I tell everyone, when you have to find a way to at least listen to the radio, to at least try to mimic. There's nothing wrong with that. If I want to learn how to speak British, I will pretend I'm British, and I'll talk like this. And why not? If I'm there, I'll probably fool everyone. You know?
Sounds like English.
So why not?
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, you'll get it. Actors do this. Actors learn languages for their movies and their accents. And I'll tell you something, you will not change your accent. You'll never be changing you're only changing a new English accent. Please keep in mind, you're going to gain a second accent. You're not losing anything. You're not losing. You'll have your original Russian or Ukrainian or Spanish accent, and you'll have another one. And it's just a matter of switching. Right?
Yep.
That's all. So why not make that accent as clear as possible?
Nice. Yeah.
So you can be understood. It's very important.
Yeah. And before I came to Canada, I never was thinking about some difference between England English or English or American English, right? Because and there is a big difference, right?
There is. We can understand if you are speaking with a British accent.
Yeah. You can hear that like a music, as you say before, right?
It's hard to hear it in a song. I can't hear the Beatles with their accent, right? But it's there. But when the people talk, it shows up. It has to do with their R's, letter R in the middle of a word. They will not pronounce it. And they have a different sound than we have here for that. So they'll say water. At the end too, an R at the end as well. Water. And we'll say water. So we have a sound not used in England. It's and we use it a lot. Americans use it, and actually Australians use it too. So that could be a challenging sound for people.
Did you during your tutor experience, did you learn something about different cultures? What can you tell about that? How, like, did you connect to communities maybe, or what can you tell about that?
What I study is what I have studied as I interact with different cultures is I'm always looking for what unique circumstances might make it difficult for them, and what are the unique circumstances within their own first language. Every individual, needs to be looked at as much as they will allow me. I need to know how they are thinking. And but yeah, every language will have its own difficulties. Someone from Africa will have different needs for the language than someone from Czech Republic, for example.
Nice.
So it's important to know that. However, I will never predict. The assessment always surprises me. I assess people for that reason, because you really never know. Until I see that assessment, and I hear everybody, and I listen through and listen through and listen through, that's when I really know what the challenges are. I try not to guess, or what the word would be, presume. Right? It has to be real.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think that you, if I remember clear, that you've been doing the assessment 2 times, right? At the start and at the end.
Sometimes I do, yeah.
To compare.
When I do the assessment at the end, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing, the difference. It's just amazing. But I destroy them after, so I don't keep them to do anything with them. But I hear things that make me very happy when I do the second assessment at the end.
Nice. Also, what I would like to share that what I found that you, as I told, that you've been connected so much with your students that sometimes you just gathering together off the lessons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and basically during your tutoring experience, you gaining more friends, right? And are you stay with like in touch with those people, and how does that work? Like
that's a lot like the following up. It's very important. This way, as friends, I get to see how they are doing, how their lives are improving. And when I'm not teaching, if somebody is not in my class and they were a learner, but they aren't anymore. At the end, often what I'll do is say, well, come on over, let's get together, let's go for coffee, or let's hang out. And so I've made such good friends from Ukraine.
From Ukraine.
Oh man, yeah. We made pierogies here. For Christmas, we did so many things.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really good.
Nice. So
great way to make friends. Oh my.
Yeah, I think that you picked the right profession for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, and so I just wondering if did you find that people bring their maybe families and in long perspectives kind of change their life and stuff like that, and like so what do you think about that?
Well, I think people who make the adjustment to Canada are experiencing something really difficult. And you know, it takes a special character to be able to handle something like this. And some individuals are away from their families for a long time. But I think it just, to me, actually, my impression is Canada is blessed and very lucky because some very amazing people keep coming to Canada. Let's give everybody the right tools because a lot of opportunities are here. They really are. I'm excited for everyone because, in my opinion, they have every opportunity here to have a nice big yard and a garage. If you want 2 vehicles, you're probably going to get 2 vehicles. A great place to raise your children. This is a great place. Some of the finest soil in the world, right?
Yeah,
that's a great place to be.
Nice. And you, as Canadian, for us would be interesting to know your personal opinion about Ukrainian immigrants or Russian immigrants. What do you feel about them?
Oh, I feel Canada, again, is very lucky because these are wonderful people here to work. I find here to achieve, here to make a difference in Canada. This has been a history in this area. We have a long history with the Ukraine in Alberta. There's a new radio station in Edmonton, just started. It's called Chuck FM.
Chuck FM.
Why? Because there's a joke in Edmonton from history, not really a joke, it's a nickname for Edmonton, which is Edmund Chuck.
Edmund Chuck.
Because of the strong population of Ukraine.
Yeah.
And we really find that has been a very important part of Alberta's history and success.
Nice.
So Chuck FM, guys.
Yeah. Nice. Did you witness any violations of maybe like human rights of Ukrainians or Russian people, or like lots of people, they just wondering when you can come to a foreign country and can you feel equal to like native people, right? Or to that population from the country, right? So Like as for me, like I know the answer on this question because I go through through this way. But for me, interesting. Like, what do you think? Is there equal opportunities for native Canadians or like Canadian immigrants, right? For like, is there equal opportunities in the way of life they would like to build?
I think there's great opportunities, and I'll be careful how I say this because we do have a history. It's all going to speak for Alberta, but we have a history of individuals working in trades, right? And people make a lot of money on the oil field, construction, these sorts of jobs. And so a lot of people don't feel that they really need education. A lot of need of people feel, why should I spend all that money on college and this and that and this and that? So they just get their high school education. They're not that good at writing and speaking and spelling, honestly. And so I would say anyone who comes here and is serious and will take some time every week, just keep improving your English, because you can never get it all. It's too big. I will never know every word. Just keep getting it higher. Take some time. You'll go past even the native Canadians easily.
Okay.
I believe that.
Yeah, and like, can you open this question? Why English so important for immigrants? Why is it so important? Because I sometimes I just getting questions from Russian, Ukrainian people that can I immigrate to Canada or come to Canada without English? So how do you think how life can look like without English?
If they did, I would say they would need to go right directly to a program. We, of course, would probably be put into a free program. So they'll get their first 4 years of English. It can be done, and it's free if person is immigrating.
Yeah. Yeah. And can you imagine the way, or how can you describe the way of a person who came to Canada without English and not interested to learning it?
Oh, well, so maybe this individual will be happy to work away from people. But this is what will happen. Person will probably find that they have to work. They're very limited. They will be limited where they can work. They'll need to know somebody who will get them a job. It will have to be a job where they are not communicating. You have to get on the phone, answer the phone. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
The phone's going to ring and you need to answer.
It's terrible, eh?
It would be. I would say get that English, because it's going to be scary. What happens if the police pull you over? What are you going to say?
I don't speak English, sorry.
Sorry, yeah. You're in the emergency of the hospital.
This is the most.
I cannot tell you what I'm allergic to.
Yeah,
this is very serious.
This is the most people who don't know English, and they have couple of phrases, I know, right? Like first phrase they learn is like, I don't speak English, sorry, right? But to me, it looks really suffering to be in here without English, right? Because you insulate yourself from society.
Yes.
You isolate isolate yourself from all the services you have in here, and it's just making terrible your way of life, right?
Sure, there's lots of jobs here, $40, $50, $60 an hour. There's a lot of money.
Yeah. And
just get some English and it's yours.
Yeah, and as you mentioned that Canadians or immigrants in Canada, they can get those English classes for free. Right?
That's right.
To move from basic level to some higher level, right?
That's right. It should get them to a level where they are at a pretty adult level. Level 4 is pretty good. I think you're familiar with level benchmark 4.
I don't know. Where would you mention like my level right now?
Well, it's very high. It's much higher than 4.
Yeah.
When you began and when I was teaching you the first time, you were probably level 4.
Level 4.
And now you are much higher.
Like where at? So
I would put you around 8.
8?
Level 8. That's university level.
This is how level 8 looks like, guys. So you know, I just got an assessment, so absolutely for free.
May not have been a valid assessment.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, to get your education in university, you have to have like level 8, right? You say?
No, but it used to be that way. They wanted, when we used to have a program at Red Deer College, it was level 5, 6, 7, and 8. Student learners at the college would study that at the same time. You see?
Yeah.
Well, and actually, most of them had to finish that, then they could start college. So that's like 5, 6. That's 4 levels not being taught
4 levels.
Here
Okay.
before.
So
on.
Yeah. And how fast you can move from between the levels, and like how fast you can move from basic language to like level 8?
Yeah, a person could do it fast. It's going to depend on the person. Really going to depend on how much exposure you have to English. Some people go to work, there's no one to talk to. This is no good. Some people go home. Everybody is speaking a different language. They don't get to practice. They try to make friends. It's difficult when you don't have the language.
So basically, it's kind of motivation, first of all. If you're motivated to learn it, you will learn it.
You will.
Yeah.
You will learn it. And it's fun. And you'll laugh and you'll make mistakes, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We make them too. It's just fun.
Yeah. And you touch a really good question. So I know that people are afraid to do mistakes, like especially newcomers when they start speaking, and some of them just afraid to speak because.
Wow, I understand.
Yeah. And what do you think about it? Like native speaker, what do you think about it?
As I tell my learners, my second language I am learning is Spanish, and once a year I spend lots of time in South America, so I have to speak Spanish or I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
I make so many mistakes, and then people, we laugh about it, and I think that's a good thing. And I explain that to my learners that I'm going through it. I've made mistakes. I tell them some of the mistakes I made. I said this instead of this, and then it's funny because I said the wrong thing. At the same time, my first experiences were I would go myself to ask, like at a store to buy something. I would talk, and I was very quiet. I was very nervous to make a mistake. And so they would say, "Okay, what?" And then I would do it again. And they'd say, "Okay." So then my friend would speak up and say, "You said it right. You were just too quiet." He said, "You were fine," but he couldn't hear you.
So it's because you didn't feel confident, right?
That's right. It's really difficult to be loud right away, to be confident right away.
But people shouldn't be scared from that, right?
No, now people are telling me, "Wow, your accent in Spanish is so good."
Nice.
And I'm like, "Really?"
Nice.
I'm surprised,
Yeah. Yeah.
And Canadians do not like to correct people. We find that rude. You kind of have to ask people to do it.
Yeah.
Ask them, "Can you please correct me when I pronounce something wrong? Did I say eat or did I say it?"
It. Yeah.
Right?
It. Yeah, I usually say eat. So
in English, we have a word bait for fishing.
Yeah.
Bat for baseball.
Yeah.
Or we have beat, music beat.
Yeah.
We have
or beat.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or bet. Cards. We're gonna bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have bite. Bit, past tense. We have boat.
Yeah.
Bought. Boot. Butt.
Yeah.
Butte.
Yeah.
And all of those are just one vowel sound different.
A little bit, yeah. A little
just
bit.
One little sound.
Yeah.
Great to practice those things.
Yeah.
Make sure they're clear, all of them.
And about practicing, I would like to, I don't know, did I bring to you my story of practicing language? But when I came to Canada, my friend just met me and he says, like, you know that you're gonna lose those English that you have right now in a couple of years in Canada. I said, "What do you mean?" He says that your English gonna become worse than it's now. And I asked him why. He says, "We found it after years working at the plant, like because of it's very loud at work, and
Mhm.
you have to be focused on the job you're doing.
Mhm.
It's basically you are unable to practice language.
This was a big problem.
Yeah, it is. But my point of view on that if you are motivated, if you understand that you have to practice, you will find the way. So basically, what the way I found that I met the guy with whom we will have really good relationship. We are really good friends now, and he's Canadian, and we were just gathering together for coffee and talking about about some personal things, about way of Canadians living here. He was interested about Ukrainians and like just sharing our life experience and practicing, right?
Right.
And
Conversation.
conversation. That was first tool that I've used at the same time when people with same opportunities, they just were basically suffering from idea that they're unable to practice their language. So and it's interesting thought from Napoleon Hill, if you know whom I'm talking about.
I think so.
Yeah. So what he says that positive mindset is looking for the way how to solve the issue, to solve the question, and negative is looking for the reason why it can be solved. So I would like to recommend to be focusing on positive mindset.
That's for sure.
And practicing more.
Don't believe you cannot do it. That's a double negative. Believe you can do it, because you can.
Yeah.
You can, and more opportunities will come for you. I'd say one thing: listen to CBC News, watch news. They are the best. Talk like them. You've got it made. And practice. You need some feedback. You need to say, you need to hear. Am I doing this right? Can you understand me? Practice is great.
Nice. So people just shouldn't be scary to ask questions.
Yeah.
Even when they have a conversation, right? Just ask, am I pronounce in the right way? Pronouncing this word, right? And this is what I found as well. That it's just what people are afraid. They're afraid to look look in the wrong way, or like
people
mistaken, or
and I think some people don't feel smart. Like for me, when I'm in Colombia, if I'm speaking Spanish and I'm having difficulty, I feel dumb, and I'm not dumb, right? But a person feels that way. I think sometimes I do, but just stick with it, because people will never know how smart you are, and your smart opinions. You have important opinions, but they need to be clear. People need to hear them. Everybody has something to say.
Nice. I see that we have a couple of questions from our viewers at the YouTube, so we're gonna go through and find it. So about challenges. They're asking about challenges you got, and do you actually teach your students online? Do you think about it, of teaching students online?
I do some teaching online. Time differences make that difficult, but I'm planning to do more of it. Our time differences make it difficult. I do some work with South America online with some individuals, because the time difference is close. Where a lot of people, where the big market would be, is China. And that means I would need to be teaching at 4 in the morning, which is kind of difficult time to be teaching.
4 in the morning. So there is some challenge of timing belt. Timing belt, you say? Yeah. You see, I'm not scared to ask questions.
I love the idea of teaching online. I like when I have the right program, so I can show everybody what I'm talking about. Show images. Some of them are pretty funny.
Nice. What do you feel when you're teaching? Actually, what do you feel like when you see the result, or you like emotions?
Wow, I get more satisfaction from this job than from psychology, from psychologists, because so often with psychology people do not improve, and you just can't do anything about it. The same thing, motivation. A lot of people have no motivation. But when I'm usually working with individuals who care and they're motivated and they want to learn, and you know, they're not children; these are adults, and they need to be treated like an adult. They have responsibilities. They have children. They have jobs. Children don't have these things. They have church, you know. So it's more, it's different. But adults do tend to learn better than children in many ways, which is a big surprise. And it's because they try harder. Adults are more responsible, and they tend to try harder. They tend to do really well.
And then what I found that if we speaking about the immigrants, children, the most less group of people who gonna be affected by lack of pronunciation. Is that right?
I think they pick it up fast. Children will just their brains are growing. So it's almost like it just takes no effort for them. They can listen, it just happens. As an adult, it requires effort, a little more effort, but people do tend to put that effort in. Try online. There are courses online for $10 American. You can learn an hour of English. What
kind of courses would you recommend?
Well, I don't know if these are very good teachers, but there is stuff out there, and a person could try that for a little bit of practice without spending a huge amount of money. But I know italki is out there. I think it's called italki, and there's other programs people can try. But to get a real solid program, find a good teacher, a good affordable teacher.
Nice. You have so much information about English. Actually, I didn't expect so much. But how long you been doing the English teaching?
I've been a teacher for 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, about 10 years.
So you have pretty big experience.
I've taught doctors, lawyers, nurses, everybody, PhDs, researchers, and I've taught a lot of amazing people from Olival. Everybody is great, and everybody is smart.
Nice.
And people tend to be very motivated. It works. It works. Just got to try.
Did you find some difference between immigrants and like average, or can I say average, but between immigrants and citizens, right? We'll say this way. Did you find them like kind of different people or no?
No. Immigrants do tend to care a little more about English. I find immigrants tend to be more serious about their careers and their futures. But I find that a lot of my learners surpass a lot of my Canadian-born acquaintances. So Canadian-born people, their level of writing, their level of speaking is usually very good. But for like the level of writing, I find a lot of my learners from Ukraine, from Spanish countries, etc., they actually surpass.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Nice.
Again, people aren't that motivated here. It's easy here for them. They feel it's easy, so they don't. My friend has been a high school teacher here for as long as I've been an adult. She taught me. It's always the same. There's half of them just don't put the effort in.
And this is what I found, because like sometimes you're speaking with a Canadian and you ask him why you when you speaking in English why you use these words in this way, or why you build the sentences this way, not the opposite. And they just confused because they can't
they have no idea. When it comes to grammar, all you gotta say is grammar to a Canadian or an American-born person, and they'll go, because you say conjunction to them and they'll say, what? They don't know. They just speak it, but they cannot really explain it.
Nice, nice. So we'll check if we have any other questions, and we are close to the end. Thank you very much, Robert. Thank you very much, Robert, for this interview we have today. Robert invited myself to take this interview in his beautiful house, and I'm really glad that you are open for conversation like this, for taking video to stay online. And is your first experience?
Like this, and definitely to the Ukraine.
To the Ukraine, yeah, yeah. But I'm pretty sure it's not the last one. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Guys, if you enjoy this video, please put the comment over there and let us know. And if you would like to see any other videos with Robert, I think that he will be still open for this opportunity, and we will have it again.
I have a lot of really good, valuable videos, and they're available on YouTube. I can show people where later.
Okay, okay, guys. So it was nice to see you. It was very useful, as Anton says. We're glad that you found it very useful for you, and we're glad that you still follow the video and took a part in our conversation. And thank you for your idea to bring this to have this video with a native speaker, because most of our videos are on Russian. Yeah, but we're flexible, and we always can make some difference. Okay, guys. So we were enjoying this conversation. Thank you, Robert, very much. Yeah, and friends, you enjoy your weekends.
And keep in touch. I'll show somewhere. I'll tell Artem where some resources are that can help you.
Yeah, and we will share the resources. If you are interested, please text me, and I will be willing to share with you those resources. Okay, so would you like to say something then?
To everyone in Ukraine,
Nice. Okay, guys, enjoy your week.